many pages are there?
4 pages.
It's 4.
It's 4.
It's 4.
Of society life. Irrespective of where they live, they are statistically more likely to be unemployed, illiterate, to have less formal education, and have less access to developed support networks and social capital. They are also disproportionately affected in disaster, emergency, and conflict situations due to inaccessible evacuation, response, and recovery efforts, and face a higher risk in emergency situations. The generally precarious state of Nigerians living with disabilities is also noted in that they are at risk of other reproductive health hazards, such as STIs, HIV/AIDS, unsafe abortions, and domestic and sexual violence. The impact of disability goes beyond persons with disabilities to include their family members as well. The mainstreaming of disability issues and therefore of Nigerians with disabilities would therefore help immeasurably in enhancing the development of inclusive governance and democracy in line with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We call for effective strategy for eliminating barriers to inclusion and development and trigger urgent public policy and programmatic action to better protect the rights of persons with disabilities in Nigeria, including those affected by wars and conflicts in the Nigerian armed forces.
In a nutshell,
Dehumanized, subjugated, and socially excluded in any society. It is universally agreed that countries should therefore seek to provide an enabling environment that should support the pursuits of economic, political, social, and cultural aspirations of all their citizens, including people with disabilities, without discriminations, and our barriers as contained in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and its optional protocol. While it is gratifying to note that Nigeria ratified both the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and its optional protocol on 24th September 2010, and that some state governments in Nigeria have enacted laws that specifically promotes the rights of people with disabilities, states which include Lagos State, Ekiti State, Plateau State, Bauchi State, Kwara State, Nasarawa State, and most recently Kogi State. And of course, the most recently, the federal government of Nigeria, led by President Buhari, domesticating the convention through the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act in January 2099 after 19 years. We as a coalition strongly believe that issues of disability and historic United Nations International Day for People with Disabilities should go beyond the usual annual reactionary traditional medical model that is encapsulated in tokenistic handouts and ceremonial charitable handshakes to the acclaimed social model, human rights model, and governmental model that focuses on society disabling environment and barriers which continue to transgress people with disabilities' access to quality living, rights, and independent living. The non-access to rights to information and participation by Nigerians with disabilities have led to a widespread underutilization of their rights to survive as humans, and of course their right to also develop to their full potential and participate in the political, social, cultural, and economic aspects of society.
Persons with disabilities have the right to vote and to be voted for. Then economic empowerment and equal employment opportunities. Disability is both a consequence and cause of poverty. In most cases, persons with disabilities lack tangible means of livelihood for self-sustenance. Those that are duly qualified for jobs are usually viewed as impeding burdens and not assets to the organization, and hence they are rejected. This has greatly increased the number of persons with disabilities begging for arms on the streets. There is therefore need for massive economic empowerment of persons with disabilities through skills and entrepreneurship programs, startup financing, loans, and credit services, and equal employment opportunities. Access to legal processes. Persons with disabilities are prime victims of all manners of abuse from their caregivers, the community, or their family members. Unfortunately, most of them fail to get justice due to inaccessible and expensive judicial procedures. The legal system should therefore be restructured to allow for easy access by persons with disabilities in the country. Finally, we must develop adequate information systems for data collection on disability to enable appropriate evidence-based planning and monitoring progress for people with disability issues in Nigeria. You cannot monitor and evaluate what other variables that you cannot measure. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development clearly states that disability cannot be a reason or criteria for lack of access to development programming and the realization of human rights. The Sustainable Development Goals framework includes 7 targets, which explicitly refer to persons with disabilities, and 6 further targets on persons in vulnerable situations, which include persons with disabilities. Therefore, disability rights and implementation of inclusive policy framework that enhances the well-being of persons living with disabilities is central to the economic, political, social, and cultural spheres of Nigeria. Thank you. From Cedar Seed Foundation, we have Louis Innocent Patrick. From Persons with Disabilities Action Network, we have Mr. Obaka Emeka Bertram. From Hope for Imran Foundation, Dr.
It was subsequently globally set aside yearly to celebrate and promote awareness on the rights and social well-being of persons with disabilities, as well as removing social stigma and discriminatory practices that dehumanizes their quest for rights, dignity, and independent living. Since 1992, it has recorded tremendous successes and acceptance all over the world. The theme for the 2019 is promoting the participation of persons with disabilities and their leadership, taking action on 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. The theme focuses on the urgency on the empowerment of persons with disabilities for inclusive, equitable, and sustainable development as envisaged in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which pledges to leave no one behind and recognizes disability as a cross-cutting issue to be considered in the implementation of its 17 Sustainable Development Goals. It is therefore important to note that Cedar Seed Foundation, Persons with Disabilities Action Network, and Kanye Yachuku Autism Society, Hope for Imran Foundation are collaborating with some critical stakeholders, representatives of persons with disabilities organizations, such as those organizations I've already mentioned, parents of children with disabilities, to join the rest of the world to ensure persons with disabilities are mainstreamed through the operationalization and implementation of the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act and the urgent establishment of a Disability Commission to meet the expectations of best global practices, which assures the accessibility, a precondition for an inclusive society development, and inclusion of rights, well-being, and dignity of persons with disabilities in Nigeria. Nigeria, with a total land area of 923,768 square kilometers, is acknowledged as the third most populous country in the world after China and India, with an estimated population of 197,885,62 people. According to the 2011 National Baseline Survey on Persons with Disabilities, which ascribed the national prevalence rate at 3.2%. The current approximate number of persons with disabilities in Nigeria is put at 28 million, which is her share of the World Bank report, globally estimated over 1 billion of population of people with disabilities, of which 2.3%, that is 80%, live in development countries.
Disability, which can be attributed to a number of factors, including community.
To come in and begin to also collaborate with us. Why do we need the private sector? Because we know that the government cannot do it alone. We believe that when we are talking about infrastructural development, we talk about scholarships, we talk about scholarships for those who have special needs but want to get educated. We are talking about employment opportunities as well. There's a lady who works for the BBC in the UK. Her name is Nikki Fox. She's a disabled, she's living with challenges, but she's a newscaster and she has won awards. We've noticed that in the community of the special needs, when you give opportunities to those of them in that community, they usually excel. They go further and further because they have no choice. So we are saying that from now, it would make a lot of sense if, number one, there's more collaboration, and that collaboration should bring about positive planning and a direction whereby we are able to articulate the needs and the challenges which we are facing. I say we because I'm the father of a special needs child. When we are talking about if anybody talks about poverty in Nigeria, for those who are challenged, it's a double jeopardy because first of all, they have the problem of getting employment. They have the problem of getting educated. The theme for this year is promoting participation of persons with disabilities and their leadership. If you want to promote their participation, the first thing that you should be talking about is educating them. After you educate them, the next thing you should be talking about is ensuring that they are included in whatever societal developments are taking place. So we are speaking about inclusiveness. And if you're talking about educating them, we're not even speaking about getting special schools aside. The schools that you have already that are existing, upgrade their infrastructure so that those living with challenges can also attend those same schools. Train the teachers so that the teachers are also able to begin to respond to the needs of those students. And then practice inclusiveness so that the rest of society can also see them as human beings, who they are. And then we will also be able to bring down a little bit of the stigma. We've not spoken about that, but there's a lot of stigmatization as well in our society. We need to bring that down to its barest minimum. I'm not saying that the stigma does not exist all over the world. It exists all over the world, even in developed nations. But as much as possible, we tackle that and in order to increase awareness. We are talking about when you don't do all things like this, there are many repercussions which we might face. When you're talking about suicide rates, if you check the suicide rate, you find out that a lot of them are people living with challenges, who were stigmatized in society, who were not able to function properly in the society because they are being taunted, or they are being laughed at, or they are being pushed aside because you believe that they cannot amount to anything. So we need to bring this down a lot. Then, like I said, employment. If the private sector and the federal government are able to set aside a certain quota for those who are living with challenges, for them to be able to gain meaningful employment, so that they also can contribute to the society, and they will also be able to enable others who are living with challenges to aspire to get to where they are. We have seen situations where those living with challenges, when given that opportunity to aspire and get to a certain place, then they also, it's a cycle. It will always continue to go around. A lot of them, I mean, I don't know how it would be. A lot of them, the private sector and so on and so forth. I think, like the media, should be able to speak and air more programs and do more of investigative journalism, where we will be able to find out what is applicable in other societies and what we can also do here. Thank you very much.
Aspect of it, and that is education. Education is the pivotal pathway to empower persons with disabilities. So I call on all of us. So much has been said for government to commit, but we should walk the talk. We should walk the talk. Look at the private sector. The private sector has so much to contribute in providing educational resources, educational tools, innovations in education of our children with disabilities. Then the multilateral organizations, the civil society organizations, the non-governmental organizations, the multilateral organizations involved in demographic health surveys, providing partnership for census. We have to have statistics on persons with disabilities. You cannot monitor or evaluate what you don't know the number. So we need a very specific estimate on numbers of persons with disabilities, so that programs are designed better, implemented better, monitored better, evaluated better, and then we will see the outcomes. And that is walking the talk. Thank you.
This update People's Committee started in 1992. Around this day, a lot of people were reached out to. I know that we sent the commission, I stand to be corrected, that the villa, the presidency has a letter from me, endorsed and acknowledged for this day. I stand to be corrected, and I stand to be tried anyway. The chief of minister has a letter from us, for me, and acknowledged by the chief of minister's office for this day. We stand to be corrected, and the minister in charge of the humanitarian disaster has a letter from us for me, acknowledged by his office for this day. I stand to be corrected that the office of the special advisor on social media has a letter from us. I'm not based as a society organizations interested in partnership and collaboration. Because the beauty of life is the fact that we have come to an extent in Nigeria that we know that a bottom-up approach to development is what will solve the multi-factor or the legal problem facing this country. Most of the political stakeholders that could correct the errors in governance are excluded out of the political space because of political misadventures. And so we have made our own part. And one of the things we thought necessary, because we had a history of sanity, goes beyond all this thing was said. You said, this is not telling this sanity. October 15 is white skin day for people with sanity, or that's rejected this day in this country. For visionary people that become blind people, we know what we want to see on last Sunday, people children, once rejected in this country, yet there have this sanity being cared for over the time by this sort of affairs. So as a body, you have parents with children with autism, you have people who have been victims of stigmatization, subjugation, and now the rights of their children coming together to say it has gone beyond a single-hand approach. We're putting our ideas together and we know that we are going to reach out to government. Further, this press release that we are going to the media, we are sending the same thing to government to know that all the strategies that have been deployed beyond the National Disability Act that should be implemented hastily, quickly, for the Commission to create employment, to create access, should be done. And on the other hand, there will be a lot of media engagements. The National Education Agency has been created by government to also help in raising awareness to the stigma that we face. So the engagement will be done on that level. And then, of course, other means of ensuring that we have more disabilities that have access to quality education should also be done. But a lot of disabilities are in rural communities, and many of them never have access to press conferences or this kind of environment in the time. So we are becoming the voice of reason, and I'm sure we're going to be doing more on our collaborations, because everybody who's here have greater inputs and have great histories of achievements in their own right. And the Nigerian government begins to realize these energies that we have here and begin to integrate their efforts, their experiences, their riches as well as in terms of administration and governance into bearing. I'm sure it will be better for us. So thank you very much.
And everybody is involved, including the media. The stakeholders, yes, like policymakers, traditional rulers, the clergy, women groups, youth groups, development partners, and everybody have been trying their best. But we want to see more of implementation of these policies that the government have, which they have kept it aside. For example, Nigeria Disability Act was signed into law since January 2019. And today is 3rd of December 2019. We've not had any positive story from it. So we need to do more work. We need to do more advocacy on the implementation of disability policies. Is it in INEC? We have a beautiful policy in INEC. We have a beautiful policy in Federal Ministry of Education on inclusive education, which one of us is a great advocate, Dr. Ayuba. And many of us have been advocating for our rights. We've been advocating for disability inclusion in everything that the government does. But we have not gotten the 100% attention that we need to make things happen for children with disabilities, for girls with disabilities, for women with disabilities, and for everyone, a citizen in this country that lives with disability. So it is time that we come together, we collaborate, just like what we are doing right now. Media is here to send the story to the world. We thank you for being here today, and we want you to send positive story about persons with disabilities. Thank you very much for asking that brilliant question.
Government, private organizations, let me just say the main major stakeholders as we not fail persons with disabilities. Because last year we gathered here and a lot of programs have been organized everywhere to commemorate the same day. Where is the result? And the people that answered the question, they really answered well and very wonderful. But all that you have said, where are the result of those things? And if there are failures, what do we do? Because if we are saying that we are doing things and the persons with disability, mostly at the grass level, are not having effect, then that means we have failed. And because if there is a law that says, okay, there should be an accessibility in all the structures, are those things being implemented? For instance, the radio station where I'm doing a program, at times when people on wheelchair comes to the studio, they find it very difficult to access the building. And they will ask me, they will say, "Ben, are you that advocating for inclusion? Your building is not even inclusive." So it shows that there's a big failure. And what do we do? Someone just made the point that we all have to come together. And coming together, what do we do? Because to me, it seems the advocacy visit, all these programs and whatever we are doing, it seems we are not getting the desired results. If we come together, what do we do? Because I believe one thing that the language that Nigeria at times understand is that because all of us are gathered here under the AC, inside the room, and when we discuss all these things, it will be forgotten. It's better all of us go on the street and do the same program where people will see us and they will know that we are saying something that is very serious. Because I believe that this thing we have to come up from us so that Nigeria will know that we are very serious. And finally, Mr. Mane is from media and other media that are here. One thing that I know about media is that maybe if they are able to play this thing this evening, tomorrow when they play, then that's the end of it. Next year they come again, we say we are doing a press conference. Can't in your stations develop programs that will really be creating awareness, that will really be advocating to government and all those people that are concerned to really, that so that there will be a shift towards the issue of persons with disability. We have to take it very serious. People are really suffering in terms of empowerment, inclusion, in terms of getting job. So there must be a shift. Media, I want to say, please give us attention, play a program, advise your station managers to develop programs that will go into the realm of persons with disability. Thank you so much.